Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Today we have another brand new set of crazy revenge stories for you. But before we begin, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. And our first story is, try to steal our $400 security deposit by being a jerk? Fine. Now you pay us $1,300. So this story takes place like 5 years ago, when my husband and I were broke college students with a young baby. We worked hard to afford our crappy little duplex, $600 a month, and necessities, while trying to finish our degrees to one day get ahead. Our duplex was one in an entire neighborhood owned by a large company and managed by a super sketchy married couple who lived on the same street. Before our kid was born, we did the normal excited new parent thing of painting his nursery and decorating blah blah blah. Our lease stated we needed to get permission to paint, which we obtained from the property manager, the husband of the couple. He insisted it'd be fine, and being young and naive, we didn't get it in writing because he was so chill about it. So we paint and move on with our lives. A little while later, our lease was up and we'd given notice to vacate as we were moving closer to my husband's school. The property manager was understanding, everything was fine, and we scheduled our move-out inspection. Prior to this inspection, we specifically asked him for the name of the paint color we needed to use when repainting the nursery. He flat out refused to give it, saying it was unnecessary to paint as we'd been there so long they'd be painting the whole duplex anyway. Okay, cool. Move-out inspection day comes and goes. We left the house in better shape than we found it, aside from a small area of torn carpet right along a seam in a doorway. The property manager inspected and said everything looked great. We should get our whole deposit back, minus a few bucks for the torn carpet. Sounds good, boss. Enter a period of weeks where we waited and waited for our deposit, eventually leaving message upon message with false promises or no return calls at all. Eventually, over a month later, this culminated in a phone call with the property manager where he said, "I remember this almost verbatim. I don't know what you're so worried about anyway. It's only like $200 you're getting back." He cited the painted nursery and the huge mess left behind as deductions. And I coldly informed him that we would be going to court then because we didn't feel we owed for those reasons. The place was spotless when we left, aside from the 6-pack of beer we left in the fridge for being chill. Not 1 hour later, he called back, and miraculously, our refund check had just shown up in the mail. Already knowing he was trying to F us, we installed a recording app on my phone, one-party consent state, and went to the office. The check indeed was only $200 of our deposit and included no list of what they charged us for. Important detail. We intentionally goaded him into admitting that he had told us not to paint and that the house looked great on move-out, and went on our happy way. Revenge plan already unfolding. We didn't cash the check and instead emailed the CEO of the entire property company, copying in the property manager and detailing the entire process. The CEO sent back a smart-ass email with a cute little typed-up list of deductions, including all the things we were specifically told we wouldn't be on the hook for. A fun little detail was that even by his own math, they owed us $230 of our deposit. No one really had an answer for why they tried to issue a check for $200, but whatever. Joke was on him, because we began digging through all the state regulations on security deposits and refunds, hoping to prove that our length of stay meant he couldn't charge us for wear and tear things like carpet cleaning, etc. And in our search, we instead happened upon a statute requiring landlords to return security deposit refunds and an itemized list of deductions within 30 days, or lose the right to withhold for actual damages and be subject to treble damages if the landlord is thought to be maliciously withholding the refund. So we typed up a demand letter for our entire security deposit, citing the statute, which he had broken because we didn't receive any refund offer or itemized list until 6 weekends later. And when he sent a smart-ass reply, we filed in small claims court for our entire deposit, plus treble damages and court costs. Now, I don't know if it's clear at this point, but I can be really effing petty if I feel like someone's trying to F with me. And it was clear this guy made a career out of stealing money from low-income renters who likely could never afford to fight it. I was PO'd. I spent the next month before our court date compiling all email correspondence, which he'd effed himself over numerous times by providing written documentation that he exceeded time limits, charged incorrect amounts, etc. I also compiled phone records showing dozens upon dozens of unanswered and unreturned calls to the property manager and detailed accounts I'd made immediately after hanging up from the lies of the property manager. I printed a screenshot of the company's own website detailing the CEO's role as the legal advisor, so I could innocently claim, shouldn't he have known the statutes for these issues? I printed all the relevant statutes and highlighted the important parts. I then made 3 copies of everything and nicely compiled each in a binder complete with sleeve protectors and page numbers, one for our own reference and one for the a-hole property manager and or CEO, we weren't sure who would show up, and one for the judge himself. We also took our handy little recording of the property manager admitting to all the crap he lied about and then pretended to have never said. Needless to say, the judge laughed at how prepared we were, asked if we were law students, then awarded us treble damages and court fees as well as interest. I'll never forget the CEO's face when we looked over and smiled at him. All his a-hole emails and disregard for the law were on the table, and rather than giving us the original $350 or so we were promised from our deposit, he ended up paying us over $1,300 a month later. It was glorious. Well done. Love to see justice working. And our second story. Department lead threw me under the bus and got me suspended. Background. I work with a client services center and do project planning and oversight. I have privileges and security clearances to that which not even low management have, but no authority to delegate tasks or make requests. This is important because a low-level manager can order me to pull client-restricted data they normally don't have access to, while they have to go through their superiors to make this request. Technically speaking, once the request is granted, they can continue to request the restricted access report. It's a loophole that one of the low-level managers took full advantage of. Introducing Tammy. She's one of 3 leads for our call center department. Tammy is very much your typical sneaky, backstabbing bee who has a chip on her shoulder for anyone standing in her way of getting what she wants. She made a series of requests to ask for 2 separate reports. One report would detail 1/2 of a piece of confidential order placement information, while the second report would detail the other half of the order placement information. By itself, these reports were intended to spot inconsistency errors that might fall through the cracks, as in, show all orders placed from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m., but show personal client information A on it. Second report shows all orders accepted from 12 a.m. to 11:59 p.m., but show personal client information B. Tammy was then combining the reports as they always matched to get both sides of the order placement puzzle. This information was used to access client order pages and change data without the client being on the phone or without the client's knowledge. This is a huge no-no. As these things go, Tammy got discovered going into clients' orders as if she had their permission. Rather than fess up to doing anything wrong, she threw me under the bus. Lime Cherry gave me this information and does so daily, see? Tammy and I were temporarily suspended without pay until the investigation was over. Turns out, no wrongdoing was discovered on Tammy's part, nor my part, and the loophole reports were stopped as they were irrelevant. Because of the way the investigation was handled, it went on my permanent record, and my low-level government security clearance that I had earned was given a red flag. It was the equivalent to a major slap on the wrist, but no harm, no foul when it comes down to the seriousness of it. Still, for her to throw me under the bus like that, I took it personally, as she knew exactly what she was doing. She had me as a scapegoat if she ever got caught. Nearly a year goes by, and I was given a task for some forensic research on a closed-off, highly controlled database. Many department leads were involved, including Tammy, whom I'd had little contact with after the above incident. I took several painstaking weeks to sift through several 100,000 records, and this was supposed to be a routine data query. What I found was something different. A massive series of date errors that didn't match up to previously compiled reports taken from the time the orders were active. Vastly different order placement turn times, most of which seemed to be taken and handled by employees from a certain department led by a certain B. This wasn't even what I was tasked to find. I just happened to come across it by accident. I reported it to my supervisors and was given the go-ahead to investigate further. Turns out that Tammy and several other leads in her department had been using the client order placement logins to manipulate order placement times weeks after the fact to make them look really good. Because the client appeared to change the order dates, no red flags were present when first investigation took place on active orders. They were manipulating past orders a little at a time. They were the top department for months on end because of this, and even got bonuses in recognition. After presenting my thorough findings, our compliance department concluded that several leads/managers were fudging dates to make their departments look better than they were actually doing. The result was one termination of a backstabbing bee named Tammy, one demotion of a lead who knew of the deception but didn't say anything. The third lead had already left the company earlier in the year. I'm told Tammy is also being sued for the bonuses and rewards she earned under false pretense. The bonuses were over $5,000 for 1 year's time, which could be grounds for grand theft. And our next story. Next-door neighbors and their expectations. So I live next door to a very conservative couple and their twin boys. The boys can't be more than 8, and like most kids, they like to play in the backyard, which is totally fine. Doesn't bother me at all. They're kids and like to run around. What bothers me, though, is that they love to throw their toys over into my yard. A lot of toys. Action figures, balls, frisbees, rackets, etc. Them throwing them over don't even really bother me that much. What bothers me is that their parents keep demanding that we have to throw them back. They don't ask. They don't knock on the door and apologize. They just yell over their fence when they know we're outside and tell us to give it back. And that bothers me. They also seem to encourage their kids to throw it over into our yard. So after Christmas, I was at the store and saw that they had a ton of Barbies, nail polish, Bratz doll, frisbees, and balls on clearance. I bought 5 of everything I could find that I knew my neighbors would hate seeing their sons play with. Every time some action figure gets thrown over in my yard, I would throw a Barbie back with it. Every time a ball gets thrown, a Bratz ball will be returned. I already threw a couple nail polishes over, and the twins went crazy. They loved it. They've had pink, purple, and green nails all week. It's been 2 days, and not a single action figure has crossed my fence. More importantly, not a single rude demand from the parents to return them. The kids are having fun, and I have my petty revenge. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.